What's up, everybody? Cynda here, and welcome back to an episode of Cynda Talks. They say that you're your own worst critic.
Stupid, dumb, and unoriginal.
You know, speaking of unoriginality, this reminds me that the Mega Man series has 8 games that all look exactly the same. So let's talk about the 9th one.
Mega Man 9 was released at a somewhat weird time. Even though Capcom was blasting out Mega Man spin-off games like every year, the core series was in a sort of limbo after Mega Man 8 released to a collective And that limbo lasted, let's see, 1996, 2008, oh my gosh, 12 years with no new core series Mega Man games. And people thought the 8-year gap between 10 and 11 was crazy. But as for my own personal experience, I bought this game on the old Xbox 360 a few years ago and on the Wii and Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 on Switch more recently. Now I can't quite remember when I first played it, but I'm like 90% sure it was around the summer of 2015. But I bought it and I loved it. So do I still love it now? Let's find out. Mega Man 9 starts with Dr. Wily falsely accusing Dr. Light of building evil robots and trying to take over the world. Which honestly is a really solid plot compared to most core Mega Man games. Having to save Dr. Light is a really interesting idea. Plus, when you enter a Robot Master's lair, there's typically a Dr. W symbol. In 9, it's a Dr. L symbol. A very minor change, but one that's pretty neato plot-wise. So now Mega Man has to clear Dr. Light's name by defeating all of the robots. So as we enter the main menu here... Wow, that's pretty good. Oh man! That's a solid soundtrack. Yeah, Mega Man 9 soundtrack is insanely good. Like, I seriously don't think there's a bad song in the soundtrack. That's not hyperbole either. Seriously, this soundtrack is really something else. Now, one of the first things that you'll notice about this game is how freakishly similar to Mega Man 2 it is. Sound design, visuals, even Mega Man's moveset has been watered down to only have his busters instead of being able to use a charge shot, and his slide move has been removed. Now, I feel like I need to clarify that I don't have a problem with this, and heck, I don't even blame Capcom here. They were coming off of a 12-year Mega Man gap, so going back to the basics for a game or two makes a ton of sense, especially due to the reception of the somewhat more ambitious Mega Man 8. Playing it safe with the Mega Man 2 reboot is really just the best move here. Another thing you'll notice is how difficult this game is, and once again, it makes sense. This game is difficult because 9 is meant for the older fans who want a new classic Mega Man game. But oh my gosh, this game has some crazy moments. I'll definitely be using that extra checkpoint system on Legacy Collection 2. So in traditional Mega Man fare, there are 8 Robot Masters and some additional Dr. Wily stages that make use of the powers you've obtained throughout the game. And while you can battle each Robot Master in any order you want, some Robot Masters are weak to certain weapons, so there is an implied order to defeat them in. In this playthrough, I started out with Galaxy Man, and this is a cool level. I mean, it takes place in space, and there's these cool teleporty thingies, and these super cheap and unfair crane grabby doodads, but overall, this stage is alright. There's nothing here that really stands out. It's well designed, and the weapon you receive is Black Hole Bomb, which can suck up enemies and deal damage, and that's something about Mega Man 9 that's really cool. Basically, all of the boss weapons here are super unique. And there's not a lot of weapons that are exclusively used against enemies. The weapons this time have a ton of actual utility in the stages, and we'll come across more of this further into the review, but keep in mind how unique the weapons are. Next up is Jewel Man, and gosh, this stage is tough. I said Mega Man 9 was hard, and I meant it. These swinging platforms and all these spikes really keep you on your toes. Definitely some sweaty palms going through this one. The mini-boss isn't too bad, but then after defeating Jewel Man, we get one of the best weapons in the game, Jewel Satellite. And Jewel Satellite is a super valuable asset to use in Plug Man stage, which has these constantly respawning enemies that will put a hurt on Mega Man, as well as impede your progress on these disappearing platforms. These blocks have appeared all throughout the Mega Man series, but this level may be the most difficult use of them yet. You really have to focus and memorize the patterns here. It's really tough, yet enjoyable. But the weapon is kind of lame though. Plug Ball travels across the floor, and while it works, it's not my favorite. Moving on to Tornado Man stage, this stage houses both my least favorite level design as well as another lame weapon, Tornado Blow, which is basically a screen nuke, which sounds really good, but in practice it deals a super low amount of damage, so most enemies aren't even affected. As for the level design, yikes, these Dr. Mario pill things are super annoying. And then we move on to the ice physics, and then the wind physics. Yeah, not a fan of Tornado Man stage at all. Next up is Magma Man, and this has the thing from Mega Man 2's Quick Man stage, which are way less wow, and much more fair than that game. Overall, Magma Man's level is really solid, and his weapon is the Magma Bazooka, which can be charged up similarly to Heat Man's weapon in Mega Man 2. Overall, solid level. After Magma Man comes Hornet Man, and this stage is also pretty solid, except it's not. It's loaded with these little party blower things that have collision detection that just doesn't work. And with the spikes everywhere, that doesn't really work to the level's favor. Plus this flower guy mini-boss sucks too. He just kind of pops up whenever, and there are spikes. Yeah, this level wasn't very good. But at least the weapon is pretty solid. Hornet Chaser launches a bee that can chase after enemies and can even pick up items that are out of Mega Man's reach. Pretty neat. Splash Woman is next, and she's the first female Robot Master in the entire series. And she's the only one weak to the Mega Buster. But her stage is actually pretty difficult to make up for the relatively easy boss battle. Seriously, there are platforming challenges in this stage that make Jewel Man stage look easy. Especially the super gross part with the water platforms that zip across the stage. I used to complete this stage first due to her weakness to the starter weapon, but now I think fighting her last might be preferable just to how rough a lot of this platforming is. But her weapon, the Laser Trident, is probably the best weapon in the game, with a long range and lightning speed. It ends up being super versatile. Anyways, Concrete Man is next, and this stage for some reason just isn't that memorable compared to the rest of my eyes. There's just not too many interesting gimmicks besides these obnoxious elephant things. Even Concrete Man's weapon is relatively underwhelming, just a short-range concrete blast that looks like it creates a platform, but it doesn't last long enough to really be interacted with. At least it freezes magma pillars, I guess. Now that we've covered the Dr. Light stages, turns out it was Wily all along! Oh yeah, Wily tricks the robots by basically promising them immortality and then hypnotizing them into being evil. Yeah, it gets kind of dark right near the end here, but anyways, the Wily stages are up next, and man, these are good. The first Wily stage has Mega Man trekking through a sunset landscape with an absolute banger blasting in the background. And then this kind of interesting, kind of annoying boss where you have to shoot these spike balls before they reach Mega Man. Interesting concept, but it just isn't super engaging. The rest of the Wily stages are pretty similar in that they aren't super interesting or varied, but provide a solid challenge and put everything you've learned and gained to the test. But I will say this little anti-gravity room is cool as heck. I mean, look at those fancy physics. Ooh. There's also a boss rush as per Mega Man tradition in the Wily stages, once again having you battle all the Robot Masters. And then, finally, you can fight Wily, and hoo boy, this is hard. So hard, in fact, that I gave up when recording this B-roll, and you're just gonna have to believe me when I say I beat this game back on the Xbox 360. So that's Mega Man 9, a pretty solid Mega Man game. It does a really good job of getting back to the roots of the series and just making a very quality experience overall.
I may worry about being unoriginal, but I take solace in the fact about thinking that Mega Man 9 is the best game in the series. Whew, that's an original take right there.